This is the climate regions of Europe. This is going to be pages 282 through 288. Here we go. Climate regions. Picture this. These carefully balanced baskets will carry grapes that are hand-picked in the Côte d'Or, or Golden Hill, region of the Burgundy, France. The region has been producing wine since 900 AD, and the grape harvest is vital to the local economy. Because of this, and because grapes are highly sensitive to the climate, big changes in temperature are always cause for concern. Read this section to find out how about climate conditions in Europe and the concern over the warming trend. Wind and water. Look at the physical map of the world in the reference atlas. Because Europe is farther north than the United States, you might expect Europe's climate to be colder than ours. In fact, much of Europe enjoys a milder climate. Why? As Figure 1 shows, the North Atlantic current carries warm waters from the Gulf of Mexico towards Europe. Winds from the west pass over the water and carry more warmth to Europe. These prevailing winds, known as the westerlies, are a major influence on warming the European climate. Other patterns also affect the climate in other parts of Europe. For example, warm winds from Africa contribute to the high temperatures in southern Europe. Blustery winter winds from the Asia lower temperatures throughout much of Eastern Europe. The water surrounding Europe also affects the region's climate. Wind blowing off the water cool the hot land in the summer and warm the cold land in the winter. For this reason, coastal areas tend to have a more moderate climate than inland areas. Climate zones. Most of Europe falls into three major climate zones: marine west coast, humid continental, and Mediterranean. Figure 2 also shows 5 other climate zones that appear in smaller areas: subarctic, tundra, highland, steppe, and humid subtropical. Marine west coast. Much of the northwestern and central Europe has a marine west coast climate. The climate has two features, one of which is mild temperatures. The North Atlantic current carries much of the warmth that the southern Iceland has mild temperatures, even though it's near the Arctic Ocean, or the Arctic Circle. Because of the mild temperatures, this climate zone has surprisingly long growing seasons. In the United Kingdom, for example, the farmers have a window of 250 or more days for planting and harvesting, nearly 60 more days than eastern Canada, which is located at the same latitude. Although temperatures stay mild, differences do not exist across the region. In the north, summers are shorter and cooler. Also, the farther away you get from the water, the wider the range of temperatures will be. For example, in the coastal city of Brest, France, a December day might only 20 degrees cooler than a July day. However, in Strasbourg, France, which is more than 400 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, the temperatures can differ by 40 degrees between summer and winter. The second feature of the marine west coast climate, besides mild temperatures, is abundant precipitation. This typically falls in autumn and early winter. Although this zone as a whole gets plenty of rain, certain mountainous areas stay dry because of the rain shadow effect. For example, the coastal area of Norway on the western edge of the highlands receives a yearly average of 90 inches of precipitation. The eastern slopes of the same highlands receive only 1/3 of that amount. Forests thrive in much of Europe's marine west coast climate zones. Some forests consist of deciduous trees, which lose their leaves in the fall. Coniferous trees, also called evergreens, grow in cooler areas of the marine west coast climate zone. They dominate the landscape in southern Norway, Sweden, and other parts of Eastern Europe. Although forests no longer blanket the continent, many people still earn their living from the forest-related industries. They cut timber and produce a huge array of products, from the lumber and paper to charcoal and turpentine. Humid continental. Eastern Europe and some areas of northern Europe have humid continental climate. Cool, dry winds from the Arctic and Asia give this zone cooler summers and colder winters than the marine west coast zone. The city of Minsk in Belarus does not get much warmer than 70 degrees north, or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, in July. By January, however, you would definitely need a warm jacket. The temperature averages only 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Because of the drier winds, the humid continental zone gets less rain and the snow than the marine west coast zone. Nonetheless, some low-lying areas are wet and marshy. This is because the precipitation that does fall can be slow to evaporate in the cool climate. The humid continental zone supports mixed forest and deciduous and evergreen trees. However, only evergreens grow farther north and in higher elevations. Mediterranean. Europe's third major climate zone, the Mediterranean zone, includes much of southern Europe, with average high temperatures in July ranging from 83 degrees Fahrenheit to 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Mediterranean summers are hot. They are also very dry. Mediterranean areas receive just a trace of rainfall during the summer. Because of the heat, the pace of life seems slow to slow down in the summer. Many people take August vacations. Others take long midday lunches and relax at the outdoor cafes for hours in the evening. Winters in the Mediterranean zone are mild and wet, with temperatures in the 50s Fahrenheit. Nobody worries about the snow. Rainfall, however, averages 3 to 4 inches per month, so an umbrella comes in handy. The mountains of southern Europe affect the Mediterranean climate zone. The Pyrenees and the Alps block chilly northern winds from reaching Spain and Italy. Some mountains also create rain shadows. Winds coming over the mountains from the west bring more rain to the western slopes. The eastern side stays drier. The effect is dramatic in Spain, where the northwest region is cool, wet, and green. Inland Spain, on the other hand, is hot and dry and brown. In southern France, they lack mountain barrier, allows cold, dry wind to blow northern reaches of the countries, and in Iceland. The tundra is an area of vast treeless plains near the North Pole, with cool summers that reach only about 40 degrees Fahrenheit and frigid winter temperatures that plunge as low as negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Only low shrubs and mosses can grow in the region. I am so off. I'm so sorry, guys. I got thrown off. Here we go. In southern France, the lack of mountain barrier allows a cold, dry wind to blow. In from the north, this wind is the Mistral, occurs in winter and spring. It also creates waves, making southern France a popular site for windsurfing. Countries in the Mediterranean climate zone are also affected by hot, dry winds from Africa to the south. In Italy, these winds are called the Syracuse. They pick up the moisture as they cross the Mediterranean, bringing uncomfortably humid conditions in southern Europe. Because the Mediterranean zone low rainfall, plants that grow there must be drought resistant. Vegetation includes low-lying shrubs and grasses, as well as the olive trees and grapevines that the region is known for. Forests are rare, and stands of trees appear only on rainy mountainsides and along rivers, subarctic and tundra. Farther north, Europe has two zones of extreme cold. The subarctic zone covers parts of Norway, Sweden, and Finland. Evergreens grow in this region at low altitudes. The tundra zone is found in the northern reaches of the countries and in Iceland. The tundra is an area of vast, treeless plains near the North Pole, with cool summers that reach only about 40 degrees Fahrenheit and frigid winter temperatures that plunge as low as negative 25 degrees. Only low shrubs and mosses can grow in this region. Because of Earth's tilt, the sun shines on the far north for up to 20 hours per day in late spring and early summer. As a result, the nights are extremely short. In the deep of winter, however, the conditions are reversed. The days are short and the nights can last as long as 20 hours. Some people are so affected by the scarce light in the winter, they lose energy and feel depressed. Highland. The highland zone is found in the higher altitudes of the Alps and the Carpathians, where the climate is generally cool to cold. However, temperatures and precipitation vary greatly from place to place depending on the three factors: wind direction, orientation of the sun, and altitude. As an example, consider two peaks in the Swiss Alps, Saintes and St. Gall. Saintes receives more than twice the precipitation of St. Gall, even though the two mountains are only 12 miles apart. The difference is due to altitude. Saintes is 3 times higher than the St. Gall, Sturdy trees add color to the high land zone, but they grow only as far up the mountainsides. The point at which they stop growing is called the timberline. Above the timberline, where the sun barely warms the ground, only scrubby bushes and low-lying plants can survive. Other climate zones. Europe's last two climate zones cover a relatively small part of the region. The steppe zone includes the southern part of Ukraine. Steppes are dry, treeless grasslands, much like prairies with shorter grass. Here, the climate is not dry enough to be classified as a desert, but not wet enough for the forest to flourish. A small sliver of land of the Adriatic Sea falls into the humid subtropical zone. This zone is hot, wet summers, and mild, wet winters. Climate change. Most scientists agree with the world's climate is growing warmer. Average temperatures have been inching upward for several decades. Measurements and photos show that glaciers are steadily eroding. In 2003, Western Europe suffered the worst heat wave since the Middle Ages. People debate whether this global warming is just part of the nature's cycle or is just related to human activities. Many scientists, though, believe burning the fossil fuels, such as coal and oil, contributes to the greenhouse effect. Gases build up in the atmosphere and trap large amounts of warm air near Earth's surface. People also debate whether the warming means for the planet. Many European leaders are worried. They fear that melting glaciers will produce higher ocean levels and will flood low-lying areas such as the Netherlands and the coastal cities like Venice, Italy. Such flooding would affect millions of people. As a result, European officials are taking action. They are trying to slow global warming by encouraging changes in energy use. Most European governments have signed the Kyoto Treaty. This is an international agreement on the limit of output in greenhouse gases, but the terms are not fully in effect. Just an update from that, the Europeans and most of the world has signed on to the Paris Climate Agreement, so that's an update from there, and we'll be talking about that later. There you go, there's the climate region.